And then I'm going to start sharing my screen and then hand over to you. Right, can you see that slideshow now?
I can see it.
Okay, great. Okay, well, I'll hand over to you, Tracey. Thank you ever so much for joining us. I'll just introduce myself very quickly before handing over, actually. I'm Emma Gifford, and I'm the co-chair of Somerset Prepared. So welcome to our Western Power session, and I will hand over to you now, Tracey. Thank you.
Excellent, thanks Emma. So first of all, I'll introduce myself. My name's Tracey Cullen. I'm the Social Obligations Officer for Western Power. I'd really like to thank you for providing me the opportunity of presenting today and talking to you about who we are and what we do. So I recognise that obviously, it's hot off the press at the moment, the energy industry, it's in the spotlight, and obviously there's a lot of complex discussions going on in the media at the moment. So hopefully I'll be able to provide a little bit of background in terms of understanding the role of a distribution network provider and the roles and the responsibilities of the company. So that hopefully that will just be a little bit of context for you as to where we sit within the industry. I'm always keen to attend events such as today because I think it's really important to reach out to build links with the communities. And I think it's important for us to develop platforms to promote the services we offer, particularly during a power cut. So if you can just pop onto the intro slide, thanks Emma. So as I said, we'll talk about who we are and what we do, provide some information really on power cuts. That's a key sort of focus for Western Power is, helping customers to respond in an unplanned power cut, but also what to do, how to report one, so we can make sure that we're, sort of really up to date on what's happening in areas, and as soon as we get those calls coming in, we can respond very quickly. The Priority Service Register, so the benefits of the Priority Service Register, how to register on there and who's eligible and what support they would receive if they were on the Priority Services Register. And then finally, the social obligations programs that we manage and deliver at Western Power, which includes wider support for individuals and communities and customers particularly who are facing vulnerable circumstances. And obviously, this winter's a real key focus area for us in terms of trying to tailor those programs to alleviate fuel poverty and to really respond quickly to the ever-changing landscape of the energy industry at the moment and the challenge of pricing and what customers are facing. So that's another sort of big programme that I'd like to highlight as well today. So if you want to progress on to the next slide. So Western Power is the company which manages the electricity distribution network for the Midlands, South West and Wales. So really large geographical area that we cover. We distribute power to 7.9 million homes and businesses. And you can see in the table below the network assets that we manage and maintain are, is quite a significant number across that geographical area. We employ 6,500 colleagues, and predominantly a lot of those are in the field maintaining equipment and working directly on the network. Okay, so key things that we do as a distribution company are we keep the lights on. So as I've said, maintaining the network assets effectively, maintaining equipment, fixing problems and fixing the network, connecting customers by upgrading obviously the networks or building new ones. And then as we move into I suppose, the smart energy transition, operating a smart system, managing two-way power flows and flexibility services. I'll talk a little bit more about what that actually means for Western Power in the future, but obviously the net zero targets are going to have a huge impact on both the industry and on our customers and communities. So it's a huge challenge that we have to respond to as electrification of the network and increasing demand, from electric vehicles and all of those things that we hear about, for the future that we'll all be using as we approach net zero. Okay, so this is a visual that I just thought would be interesting to show you, hopefully, the sort of challenges and the system changes that as a distribution company we'll see. So as you can see on there, I'm just going to move on to my larger screen so I can see a little bit clearer from the iPad. But you've got sort of old technology there, which is large power stations, the transmission network across pylons, and then our role in I suppose transmitting that into substations and then into customers' homes. That is the network operator responsibility. As we change to become a system operator, you can see below that actually a lot of these smaller generation, wind, low carbon generation storage will actually supply direct into, sort of across substations and customers' homes and not across the network as the older generation technology has done. So Western Power's role will change. It will become a system operator that needs to manage capacity more than anything, because obviously a lot of these technologies aren't as reliable as some of the older power stations. So responding to changing capacity and making sure that customers have got their electricity when they need it, and that it's a flexible service which manages demand and capacity digitally as well, is going to be one of the huge challenges for Western Power. So hopefully that just provides a little bit of context as to what we do as a company and where the future role and responsibilities for Western Power will be, because I think it's as I said, it's a complicated industry, and a lot of customers talk to me about their electricity suppliers and their pricing, and Western Power isn't responsible for, I suppose, supplying direct to customers' homes in terms of their bills, and we don't receive payments for customers direct. But of course our role is still a really important role in the industry, and customers ultimately pay for the services we provide, so we're accountable for those services to our, to all of our customers. Okay, so if you'd like to pop the next slide up, thank you. So there's that, touched on that earlier there about accountability. Accountability to our customers and our communities is really a crucial part of our strategy, and our stakeholder engagement strategy is established. It's an enduring strategy, and it's been embedded at Western Power for many years. The strategy is signed off on an annual basis by the Chief Executive Officer and the directors. So it's it has that leadership back in. The delivery is embedded locally as well, and engagement is part of all of our colleagues' responsibilities and our roles. So from our contact centre staff to the field staff and those of us who work in social obligation, we're all committed to ensure that the engagement that we deliver is inclusive for all of our stakeholders. It includes hard to reach communities, and we're reaching out through various different channels and through direct partnerships to try and ensure that no customer is left behind in our strategy, and that we take on all of our customers' views where possible. It's tailored to suit each customer group, and that we've got different methods of delivering that. And it's also focused on action and outcomes. I'm responsible for a lot of the social obligation programs and projects at Western Power, and I'm very outcome focused in terms of what the projects deliver for the end customer, the household savings they make, what measures and insulation and fabric measures are being installed to ensure that we are effectively delivering as much support and help that we can at the point of that contact with the customer. So they're all very measurable outcomes, and the projects are very much focused on that direct action at a household level for customers. So if you'd like to move on to the next slide. So the importance of stakeholder engagement, I suppose, why do we do it? Obviously, we really want to continually improve the service that we provide, and, be a responsible, company and employer. We do it because we believe it's the right thing to do. Customers do pay for everything we do, so, it's the right thing to tailor and shape our services, and it's such an essential service that we're providing. It is it's something that every home needs, and we have a responsibility to make sure that people can access that and have that service at the point of need. And if there's anything we can do to influence policy, either at a supplier level or with the regulator, we will champion that on behalf of the customer as well. We also like to ensure that our plans for the future, and I'll talk a little bit about our current business plan that's actually being published, but those plans are well justified, and we're investing in the right areas, and that stakeholders and customers are engaged in that, and that we can work with the communities and stakeholders to identify and drive improvements in the services as well. So I suppose it's really to hold us account on our performance, and to make sure that we take action as a result of that feedback. And events such as today, and we were just talking earlier, myself and Emma, about it's great that we can all link together digitally, but it would be nice as well to get back into communities, and to make sure that where possible, when restrictions allow, that we can have those face-to-face engagement sessions with stakeholders, because we realise that not everybody is comfortable with digital meetings, and that we do need to make sure that where possible we can get back out into communities and speak to all of our customers. Okay, so this takes us really on to, I suppose, how we measure and identify stakeholders. So I don't want to really focus on this slide in too much detail, but just to give you, I suppose, an assurance as a community in Somerset that we do have measures in, to assess, the stakeholder interactions with Western Power. So recognising that level 1 is, those who work closely with us to build knowledge, or whose role necessitates interest, and then you can see as we move down that those at level 2 who interact fairly regularly with Western Power, and then level 3 and level 4. So we can actually ensure that where possible we can have a matrix where we can tailor our communications to the level that stakeholders require. And for those organisations that we work really closely, it is really a case of co-creating plans with those communities, so that we can make sure that our plans for the future are absolutely meeting the needs of that particular community. Thank you. And there's just some of the examples that I just wanted to make you aware that, certainly please contact me afterwards if, we can help in any way. But this is some of the engagement methods that we will be able to tailor. So we can have customer panel and engagement groups, or attend industry working groups. We've got staff roadshows and leadership events. We can send just consultation documents out to stakeholders if that's the preference, or just make obviously people aware through social media. But we can do podcasts or attend MP and government meetings. We've done videos and awareness campaigns, and we can do smaller events or focus groups as well if required. And if for example, one of Western Power colleagues unable to attend an event, we've got area partners that we work really closely with on the fuel poverty schemes, and many of those, if we're unable to attend, will often support and help with cascading that information down into certain organisations as well. So just really wanted to make you all aware that we are available, and we can certainly help communities, or whether it's highlighting our plans for the future, or responding to feedback on power cuts, or awareness of the priority service register. We're absolutely willing to come out and or to have a meeting and enable that to happen. Okay. So we do have a consumer vulnerability strategy, and the reason that I'm talking about this is really I wanted to introduce the Priority Services Register for those who aren't aware of it. It's a free, confidential register. It allows people to join and register the details for if they require additional support during a power cut. So obviously customers can face different vulnerability circumstances, and there may be transient circumstances. So we do also make sure that our priority service register is up to date, and we regularly contact customers to make sure that initial registration reason is accurate. We work with partnerships in the community, and a lot of sort of area organisations also act as referral partners for us to make sure that customers are aware of the benefits of being on the Priority Service Register, particularly those with such as medical reliance on oxygen and equipment. It's absolutely essential that they're registered on there, so that we're aware of their particular circumstances in the event of a power cut. Unfortunately, sometimes these power cuts happen without our knowledge, and we rely on communities to first of all let us know and report them, but then obviously we need to respond to those customers that we know are within that area who are particularly vulnerable to the impact of a power cut. So that really is the Priority Service Register is absolutely the foundation of our vulnerability strategy and managing that. And you'll see that there's 5 pillars on this slide, which is I'll just go through briefly, but understanding I suppose the nature of vulnerability, improving the accuracy of our PSR, so making sure that our data is absolutely up to date, as I mentioned, improving those power cut services, including new innovations and technology that we can maybe use to support customers, addressing fuel poverty in cold homes, which is one of our broader interventions for our vulnerability strategy, and also making sure that no customers left behind in a smart future. Talk briefly about the energy transition, and it's an exciting time with lots of opportunities, but it also does present challenges for many customers in interacting with that market. We know from the introduction of the price cap a few years ago that actually, not all customers are even comfortable switching tariffs. So, and that's been obviously introduced to protect those customers on pricing. But if we move into and think about, how interactive potentially the future may be in energy management, certainly there's, a lot to do with ensuring that those customers, who aren't interacting with market at the moment for, whatever that reason is, whether it be digital exclusion or cost exclusion or capability, that we are providing the right services and support for those customers to make sure that they're not detrimentally impacted by the transition. Okay, so if you want to move on, so this is really just to raise awareness that Western Power has actually published our business plan. It's on our website, so if you haven't seen that and you feel that you would like to read that and respond to that, please either contact me or download it and have a look at it on our website. We have done a lot of stakeholder engagement on the business plan, and if you just want to pop on to the next slide, I'll just go through that. Obviously there's 45 core commitments. We did start with 67. They were reduced to 58 after we'd done some initial consultations, and then reduced to 45. But the really the core focus of the plan is that it's affordable for our customers, it's measurable, it's outcome focused, ambitious, and it aligns with our purpose and values. It supports net zero, and it's developed co-created with our stakeholders. There's a lot of detail in the plan, so again, if you do feel that you haven't seen that and you want to read that and respond to it, as I say, either contact me or it is available on our website. Thank you. If you want to pop on to the next slide. So we, again, on the business plan, we've gone into detail on our consumer vulnerability strategy for the next price period, which is in 2023. I've just highlighted at the bottom there some of the core commitments. And I think the slides will be circulated. Is that right, Emma? Will these be? Sorry, I think you're on mute. I think that was a yes.
Oh, sorry. Yes, that was a yes. Sorry, I was on mute. That's right. Yes, we will circulate the slides.
Excellent. So I don't need to go through those, but I think it's really important to demonstrate that they are, in the plan, and that we are really making sure that all of what I've been talking about, that we've actually defined what that means for customers, particularly with reference to our PSR reach. So that is how many customers that we believe who are eligible for the Priority Service Register are actually registered. At the moment, we've done a lot of work with outside data providers, and we believe at the moment that we're around 59% mark of who we believe is eligible is actually registered now. As a target for us, for our communities, we want to make sure that we have raised that to 75% of total eligible customers and 80% of customers with those critical medical dependencies. So it's, this is really an important message, I think, for all of us in working in the communities, is ensuring that where possible, some of these customers, because I've done a lot of awareness with certain organisations and groups, and obviously because I work in the industry, I think at times that the awareness of Priority Service Register is really high, and I'm very surprised sometimes when I go out to certain organisations and communities, and there's really a low awareness of exactly what the Priority Service Register is and what it delivers. So I would urge anyone who works or has interactions with people that I think may be eligible to help us make sure that they do register. I've talked a bit about this already, so I think I'm not going to dwell on the slide too long, but I think it, again it's really with a future hat on, to thinking about how I suppose the smart transition could burden customers with additional costs for developing a smart network, and also making sure that we use technology and innovation in communities to support customers. So, for example, for things like prepayment meters, where potentially a disabled person would benefit in not being able to go and out and have to buy cards, for example, and things. So I think we need to look at digital solutions, and also, for example, a person who's maybe living on their home, and the temperature alert for a carer or a family member to say that temperature's fallen below a safe level. That there are things that we can do with technology and innovation to help those customers facing vulnerable situations, and we really need to make sure that is the focus, and that these customers aren't left behind as some of the more very, I suppose, expensive technologies, but that they can access all of the benefits of what the future holds. Okay. So this is a slide really just to show a little bit about the vulnerability programme that we've delivered last year. So mentioned about the partnership. So we work with organisations in all of our key areas. So they're highlighted there in terms of what we call our power up schemes. So we work with Ariga, Coventry Citizens Advice, the Energy Savings Trust, and the Centre for Sustainable Energy, predominantly on fuel poverty schemes. So when either those organisations or we have contact with customers, we'll talk to them about the Priority Service Register. We'll also ask them about, if they benefit from broader support with household savings, benefit health checks, insulation grants, heating solutions, and just general energy advice. It's quite surprising how just behavioural changes can impact customers' bills, and just being able to have that broader conversation with the customer, and we demonstrate how much we save from those particular interventions, and report that to Ofgem on a yearly basis. So last year to save 10 million for 22,000 customers through those flagship projects was really a great achievement, and particularly at a time in the pandemic, which was challenging for all of us to deliver, and obviously a lot of those conversations had to be moved to telephone or digital meetings, but to continue that, we're really proud of that achievement. The affordable warmth schemes, there you can see we work with again four key partners in the specific areas, and a lot of that support is mainly through fabric measures, so making sure that homes are energy efficient in the first place, because it's in a way no point putting some of those interventions such as the household savings in place if customers have got cold, leaky homes. So where eligible, these organisations work directly with customers to make sure that that they're eligible for grants, if they can have sort of the loft top-ups or cavity wall insulation. Still challenge with some of the older properties because they're solid wall properties, and very expensive to insulate. So it's going to be interesting to see how the policy develops regarding insulation measures, particularly those more expensive measures. Certainly where possible, cavity and loft insulation is absolutely been prioritised, but I would say that predominantly the majority of those homes that can be insulated now have been insulated within the cost envelope that we have to fund. So yeah, it's an interesting one to see. But yeah, in terms of the savings last year, over 10 million is pretty much what we did the year before. So to do it last year, and it's really testament to those partners. They've responded so quickly to provide services for their clients and for our customers who have been referred to them, really well. So yes, very proud of those schemes. So the priority services register, just to sort of focus in on the detail of this, which I've talked about already, but just to let you know that it is a free confidential register, and we absolutely make sure that none of this information would be used for marketing purposes or anything like that. So when customers can be reassured that when they register, they are just registering for the additional support. So how to identify customers who can be eligible. So a medical dependency on electricity obviously is a key priority, and it's the top priority for customers that we want to ensure are registered and that we're aware of them. They could have specific communication needs, or just be vulnerable to a power cut due to wider circumstances highlighted there. A temporary vulnerability, so as I mentioned, vulnerability is transient. It can impact anybody at any time, and we need to make sure that we keep up to date with their information, because if they're no longer requiring the additional services, then we'll have a conversation and we'll agree to take them off the priority service register if that's their choice. And then obviously a dependence on water. So we are trying to work across utilities as within obviously the rules and regulations of data sharing and GDPR, to make sure that where customers register for one on one priority service register, if they're eligible for both, that we work directly with those water companies. It's something that from a policy point of view, it would be very, I think, a lot easier to manage if we had one priority service register for the industry. And I know obviously there's a lot of work going on in the background with Ofgem and other companies to try and ensure that that's where we move to, because suppliers also are part of this process. So a supplier will register customer on a priority service register that ultimately will obviously register with Western Power as well. But there's a lot of different organisations, and you can understand why customers can be confused potentially if they've registered with one company, but then it hasn't been transferred, or they need to register with their water company as well. So we are lobbying to try and make this as easier and one point of contact for all customers so that they can register. Okay. So the services that we would offer, so obviously tailor our communication to those individuals depending on what their requirements were. We'd also offer additional support and be as proactive with information. So in a planned shutdown, the customer would have bespoke notice or a telephone call, and there'd be we could arrange support from external partners. We work with British Red Cross, who will support in those circumstances. Obviously, unfortunately, there's always unplanned interruptions, so we do have to be mindful of that, but we would provide proactive contact with priority services customers during the power cut, and obviously make sure that their needs were met. Our contact centres made over 1 million proactive contacts to customers during power cuts, and 250,000 obviously to priority services customers. So they can arrange for warm meals, drinks and crisis pack, as well as obviously the emotional and welfare support. They do have a dedicated PSR telephone number, so they can get straight through to Western Power call handler, and they bypass obviously the standard message systems. And we can also operate a password scheme for security and peace of mind, so they can quote that if we do need to visit the property. So it's just obviously, great for us if we can start to build the relationships with those customers, particularly the ones with high vulnerabilities, so that we're aware exactly where those customers are. And if we know certainly on the planned outages, we can absolutely make sure all of those important requirements are being managed and the customers well looked after. Okay. So services with communication needs. I do want to say that actually that customers can access these services even if they're not on the PSR. So I won't go through all of those, but you can see that we've got a specific points under each communication need that we can absolutely make sure that any customer has the opportunity to access these. So again, you could contact ourselves, or we've got the online registration. If you were working with customers in the communities or knew about family members, etc., where we can be made aware of these circumstances. Okay. So talked about this on the previous slide, but we can offer specific support services during a power cut. So the British Red Cross is one of the partners that we work closely with, and certainly for a prolonged power cut, we'd provide warm meals and drinks. We'd visit customers to make sure that they're coping okay, and they'll help with them. Handing out crisis packs containing useful items, hat, torch, flask, socks, and things like that. They can also visit specific customers. Again, talked about knowing our customers and really where their needs are. So, and they'll provide catering vehicles in communal areas, and they'll be very proactive in offering that support. We also work with Nationwide Caterers Association, who again provide warm meals and drinks to communities during severe weather. Obviously it's we all remember 2018 with the beast from the east. I hope that we don't have an event such as that this year, but we absolutely need to make sure that we've got those future plans in place for such an event. And obviously winter's approaching, so again it just really highlights the importance of some of these measures, and making sure that we've got our plans in place should we face a prolonged severe weather storm. Okay. So power cut advice you can share. I just thought this would be useful to include to sort of make communities and highlight the sort of things that we would advise. So firstly, talking to neighbours. There's often electrical issues that affect individual homes but aren't actually wider power cuts. So that's one of the first things that we'd obviously recommend, and asking customers to check where possible if they can, or getting some support for them to do that. Making sure that in a power cut that things like the freezer is kept closed, because obviously if it's only a couple of hours, hopefully their food can still be kept at the right temperature and it won't defrost. Obviously if it's a prolonged power cut, that's not going to be the case, but certainly that practical advice, making sure that they've got a phone number to hand, and Obviously, their availability. I talked about a torch and having things readily available, particularly as winter approaches. And we do have the WPD crisis packs that we can support with if a customer is particularly vulnerable. And so again, I'll provide my email address and circulate that. But we do work with organisations to provide things such as crisis packs. Obviously, medical equipment that we talked about, and protecting customers' own equipment as well. So computers and smart TVs, etc. Because when the power goes back on, you can have power surges, and battery solar chargers handy. So if things like smartphones and tablets can be charged if possible. So just some practical tips that that we would be talking to customers about in the event of a power cut, and that we share with our partners who might be contacted directly themselves. This is really just to highlight that we do work with a lot of grassroots organisations, as well as the flagship partners that we talked about for gaining referrals for the Priority Service Register. So we've got the online URL there, and we can also be contacted by phone to register. But we do have quite a few organisations who have agreed to be a partner, and if you were interested, if you do have interactions with people direct and you wanted to access that information, I can certainly send that on to you. Some only send probably handful every year, but they're still important referrals, and it's good to work with people who are working directly in the community. Again, the information's there if you wanted to promote that with a neighbour or family member as well. I've included some frequently asked questions just as the slides are being circulated, but I'm sure hopefully if there's any more I'll be able to answer them. But if you just wanted to flick on to the summary slide. So just really to summarise hopefully what I've highlighted today. So firstly, stakeholder engagement is really fundamental to Western Power, and we're here to support you and your communities, and I can certainly help where I can, and if we need to attend events or communities to work directly with your organisations, then please contact us. We want to tailor and focus on action. So if there's projects or certainly this winter, if there's things that the community are interested in terms of funding opportunities, again we can look at that, particularly if it's helping customers or communities get through this winter in terms of their energy pricing and household savings. The Priority Service Register is a key tool in terms of managing customer vulnerability, particularly in a power cut, and we can tailor support if we know about those customers. And hopefully, if you do work directly in the community and you want to sort of work with us in partnership to refer customers with their consent, obviously, onto the Priority Service Register, then again that's something that we can take forward. So that's pretty much most of what I've got to talk about today, but conscious there might be quite a broad range of questions depending on who's attended today. So hopefully I'll do my best to try and answer any questions you might have. So thanks again for the opportunity of talking to you all today. I really enjoyed it.
Thank you very much, Tracey. I will just come back to the Teams meeting and stop sharing my screen. That was really interesting. Thank you for that. It's really good to know these services are out there. If anyone's got any questions, you can either raise your hand or you can use the chat, and we can field any questions you might have. No, quite thorough presentation there. It looks like we haven't got any questions at the moment.
You know, I thought I was only going to be about 15-20 minutes, and I've just realised the time. So I have filled the slot quite well there, haven't I? Hopefully, hopefully it was interesting. But yes, I mean, as I say, if people have got questions that they perhaps want to take offline, I'm happy for them to come through yourself, Emma, as well. I know sometimes it's not ideal and online to raise your hands. So again, if somebody has got anything offline, happy to take that as well.
No problem at all. And I've just popped my email address into the chat if anybody wants to get in touch directly. Just comment from James. Great presentation, but I will have to catch up on recording. He's on a work call, so no problem at all. We will be putting the recording up on the Somerset Prepared website, so anyone can catch up on it there.
Could I just ask Emma if people don't mind responding? It's just were they aware of the Priority Services Register, and did they think that there's a high awareness of it in their particular areas?
Did you want to come in there, Lisa?
We are aware of it. We have previously, when we've done face-to-face events, sometimes we've actually had some leaflets where we've been able to hand those out. We don't have those anymore. So that's, if there is something or some sort of article that we can actually have, that we can include in the newsletter we send out quarterly, because we send it across to all the town and parish clerks and through to all the flood wardens and community emergency volunteers that we have on our list. That is great, because it's something that's really good and we would like to promote. And it's also, it gives the town and parish clerks the opportunity to actually include it on their parish council website as well. So we're all about promoting. So if there's something that you want us to include, more than happy to do that. Absolutely.
Yes, we've definitely got leaflets. I think I've sent some to Dawn actually, but they're probably just for attendees for the actual event. So if hopefully we can get in contact through Dawn or Emma, and I'll certainly be able to send you a stock of those, so you've got those, because we've got a couple actually. We've got one about the Priority Services Register that's really useful for customers, and then we've got a more power cut one, so what to do, sort of the things that I've talked about today, what we'd advise customers to do in the event of a power cut. So yeah, there's two that probably will be useful from what you've just said, Lisa.
Absolutely.
And just to confirm, we did send out those leaflets with the registration pack, so they went out to about 100 people registered for the event overall. Right. So that was really great. And I was not aware of the Priority Services Register before I started in this role, but I obviously I know about it through work now. But another place where we can try and get the word out there is through the Somerset Prepared newsletter, which goes out quarterly. So we can include. I think that's as Lisa was saying, it's a really great piece of information to get out there. James has just said in the chat as well that he wasn't aware of it, but he will share that information on the parish council website. So I think that's another, and there's a lot of parish councils which are signed up to the Somerset Prepared newsletter. So it'd be great to get that out there.
Absolutely, and as I say, I'm happy for my email to be circulated for people to contact me if they do need leaflets or crisis packs. We do tend to have the crisis packs just for those really in need, with vulnerabilities, but we are happy to support with those as well. So again, links with parish councils on that, happy to work with them directly on it.
That's brilliant. Thank you very much, Tracey.
Okay.
Okay, as long as there's any other questions, you're welcome to put them in the chat, or you're welcome to contact us afterwards. And as Tracey said, we can come back to you. So yeah, thank you very much for joining us today.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Nice to meet you all.
Lovely to meet you. See you again sometime.
Yeah, thank you. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Bye, Tracey.
Bye.